The other important part of the Time's Up energy bike system at Occupy Wall Street was the bike stand. There's a lot of different ways to get energy out of a bicycle. More efficient models are internal hubs and belt drives, but we wanted to be able to drop any bike in there, and as I said before, we were limited by charging batteries. You don't want to charge a battery with a ton of amperage because you'll ruin the battery. So this actually turned out to be the perfect way to do it, and it was nice because it's very replicatable. We welded this with a nearby bike shop, Brooklyn Machine Works. Our bike stands are fairly simple, much like any bike trainer that you can drop your bicycle into. It's an A-frame design with a flange that can rotate up and down to make contact between the roller and the tire. At the top of the A-frame, we welded nuts so we could pass through threaded rods that tighten down onto the axle. If you have a welder, this is a great model. You simply make an A-frame, our schematics are online, and you weld on a movable flange. The movable flange is key, even if you use a no-weld model, because you need to attach a motor to a roller that makes direct contact with the tire. The way that we did this was we attached the shaft that comes out of the motor to an automotive coupling to a longer shaft, which passes through two bearings in these bushings that we welded, between which we have a roller, which makes direct contact with the tire. The roller is held on to the shaft with set screws. It's a fairly simple system. When you're operating this bike stand, you want to have as much pressure between the roller and the tire as possible. The most important thing is that you can spin the tire smoothly, that when you're pedaling you're not surging, because then you're surging charge into the battery, and that's an inefficient way to charge your battery. But the more tension that you can have while remaining smooth, the more amperage you're putting into the battery. An important part of our stand is this T-bolt that passes through a nut and can press against the stand to increase the tension on the tire. This way we can fit any size wheel, from a 27-inch to a 26-inch or even a children's bike, and you can apply the proper pressure. You want to have as much pressure as possible while still spinning smoothly. So when you set up your bikes, you want to be using the spinniest gears possible. You don't want any resistance. Even though you think that might give you more spin, you want all the resistance to be coming from the tension of the roller against the tire. This creates more energy because the motor actually senses the inertia that you're putting into it. It's not only the rotations that matter, but also the force being driven. So you get it in a very spinny gear and you tighten it down slowly until you've reached the max tension that you can have and still spin smoothly without ever surging. We welded nuts to the top of our A-frame so that we could pass these threaded rods into them. These tighten down onto any size axle, and they'll tighten down onto a quick release or a bolt-on axle. It's not a problem at all, and typically they're large enough that when you tighten them down by hand, they're never going to slip no matter how much pedaling you do.